Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be learning how to cut this simple princess dart bustier. So if it's something you would love to learn, please keep on watching, like, share and subscribe. So let's go right into it. The first thing is to get our basic measurement. So from the top of the paper here is our starting point, which is my shoulder line as well. So I'm going to come down from the shoulder line to mark my bust point. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10, so I'm going to mark 10 right here. Then from my shoulder to my underbust is 13, I'm going to mark 13 inches here. Then from my shoulder to my waist is 16. I'll go ahead and rule all these points across. So I'll go ahead and label the lines. This is my waistline, my under bust line, and my bust line. So I'll come to the top of the paper here and I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2. My shoulder divided by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to mark it right here. Then I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'll come here to mark my basic neck of 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect the neck slope into the neck width like so. Then I'll come here to mark my neck depth of 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect from here into that point we just marked. So the next thing is to mark our arm length. And how to get your arm length: you divide your bust by 6, then add 1.5 inches to it. So that point I'm going to rule it across as well. So this line now become our chest line. So I'm going to mark what I have on the shoulder line. I'm going to mark that 7.5 inches here on this line as well. Then I'm going to connect all the way to this point we just marked on the chest line. Then I'll come to this line here and I'm going to divide it into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint. Then on that point I'm going to go in by half an inch. I'll come to the chest line, divide my bust circumference by 4, we'll mark it on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect all these points together. I'm going to connect from here to this point and then I'm going to connect it all the way to that point we marked on the chest line. So we now have our armhole. So the next thing is to create our dart, and to do that we are going to divide our bust span by 2. That is your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. Mine is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. I'm going to mark the 3.5 on the bust line, under bust line and on the waistline. And I'm going to connect all these points together with my straight rule like so. Then I'll come to the waistline, the side facing the center front here. I'm going to mark half inch. So if you're a plus size, if your bust is big, mark 1 inch here. Then I'm going to mark 1.5 inches on this side, but if you're a plus size, just mark 2 inches. I'll mark half inch here, 1.5 inches on this side. Now go ahead and connect these 2 points together like this. Then I'm going to come down by half an inch from the bust line here. Then I'm going to connect from that point all the way like so. I'll connect this one also like this. So this midpoint we marked earlier, I'm going to connect from the bust line all the way to that point. And I'm going to smoothen this area. Then I'll come to this line, I'll mark half an inch on both sides of this line. This is for our bust tightening. I'll mark half an inch on both sides of this line. Then I'm going to connect these points into this line like so. So this 1 inch we took here for our bust tightening, I'm going to replace it here. I'm going to replace it here so that we don't have shortage of fabric when we are sewing. So I'm going to replace the 1 inch here. Then I'm going to extend this line to that point like this. So I'm going to curve our armhole from this into the chest line like this. So this is now our armhole. So the next thing is to impute our body measurement. My bust divided by 4, I'll mark it here. Then the 1 inch we took for our dart here, I'm going to replace it here. Then I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then I'll come to the under bust. My under bust divided by 4, I'm going to mark it here. Then this 2 inches for our dart, I'm going to replace it here. Then I'm going to come to the waistline, divide my waist by 4. I'm going to mark it right here. Then the 2 inches for our dart, I'm going to replace it here. Then 1 inch for seam allowance. Then I'm going to add the 1 inch for seam allowance on the under bust as well. Then I'm going to connect all these points together like this. So this is the area we're going to cut out. This is the area we don't need. So this is basically it for the front. I'll go ahead and cut it out now. Please pay attention to how I'm cutting the pattern paper so you don't cut yours wrongly. So we're done with the front pattern. I'm going to keep it aside so that we'll work on the back. So I've already gone ahead to rule out all the lines on the back pattern. This is my bust line, my under bust, my waist line, and my zipper allowance is there. So I'm going to come here to mark my shoulder divided by 2. I'm going to mark it right here. Then on that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I'll mark my basic neck of 3 inches. Then connect the shoulder slope into the neck width like so. Then I'm going to come here and mark my neck depth. I'm going to mark 1.5 inches for the back neck. Then I'm going to connect all the way into the zipper allowance like so. Then I'm going to come here to mark my arm length just the way we did on the front pattern. Then I'm going to rule that point across. So this is our chest line. Then what I have on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark it here on this chest line. Then I'm going to connect the way to that point on the chest line. We are literally repeating what we did on the front pattern. Then I'm going to divide this line into 2 equal halves to get the midpoint. Then on that point, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. Then on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 4. Then I'm going to connect all these points together. So the next thing is to create a dart. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 3.5, I'm going to mark it on the bust line, on the under bust line, and on the chest line. Make sure your measurement is taken after the zipper allowance, okay? After the zipper allowance. Then on the waist line, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides of this line. Then I'm going to connect from the bust line all the way to that point we just marked on the waist line. So we now have our dart. The next thing is to impute our body measurement. Come to the chest line, my bust divided by 4. I'm going to mark it right here. Then I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. I'll come to the under bust, my under bust divided by 4. I'm going to mark it. Then that intake, I'm going to replace it here and then add 1 inch for seam allowance. I'll come to the waistline, my waist divided by 4. I'm going to mark it on the waistline. Then the 1 inch, that intake, I'll replace it. Then add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then I'm going to connect all these points together. Then I'll come to the zip allowance. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch. This is to prevent our zip from bulging after sewing. Then I'm going to connect this point up slightly. This is the area we're going to cut out. So this is basically it for the back pattern. I'll go ahead and cut it out. Please, if at this point you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do me a favor by subscribing, like, share, and do well to turn on the notification bell so you can be notified anytime we drop new videos so you don't miss out on anything on this channel. If you have any concerns, please drop it in the comment section and I promise to attend to all of them. Thank you so much for doing that. So this is our zipper allowance. So this is basically it for today's tutorial. As you can see, we have the back and the front pattern here. Very easy. Thank you for staying tuned. See you in my next video. Bye.